Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, I'll be reviewing a Land Rover Defender with the County Pack. Before we get into this video, I want to mention that I've got a link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get into it. Under the hood, we have a turbo 3-liter inline 6 that goes through an 8-speed automatic transmission. You can expect to get about 20 miles per gallon with this powertrain, depending on your driving, and then power outputs are 395 horsepower and then 406 pound-feet of torque. The Defender does come with a bunch of different powertrain options, from a 2-liter 4-cylinder to supercharged V8, and there's even now a twin turbocharged V8 for the top-of-line Octa, so there's a lot happening under the hood with the Defender. Before we move forward with this review, I do want to mention if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. So starting with the hood, you've got the checker plates there on either side, really cool look. The Defender logo front and center. And then I love the look of the turn signal indicators and then the headlight design overall. It's cool how it's a circle, but then it's inside of a box. And then you've got fog lights with this. And then this one has all the silver trim. You can actually black everything out if you want as well. It just depends on the packaging you get. But I like the contrast with the silver, and then you got the white roof with this. Now around the side here, our tire wheel setup is 255 by 60 by 20 in the front and over in the rear. And these wheels are really cool. 20-inch wheels, look like Steelies. They're painted white, so it's some cool contrast with this, and then the blue paint on this particular Defender. And then you can see County there on the side. And then notice how the trim at the bottom is blacked out, and then the fender flares. So you've got this cool contrast with the white and the black and the blue, and I think it all ties in together. Now the Defender has a cool key fob. You've got your lock and unlock. That's just to unlock the rear swing gates, and then you've got the lights. Turn that on, and then Land Rover there in the back. And this leads us to the rear. So swing gate's pretty cool with the opening function there. And there's a ton of storage space here in the back of the Defender 110. That's what this particular one is. But there's also a 90 and there's a 130. Again, the Defender comes in a lot of different flavors. Now this has air suspension, so you can raise and lower the rear end just with those buttons right there. And I like the trim on the back of the seats so that you don't have to worry about cleanup. Makes it a lot easier. And so cool. Love the taillights here. The kind of like boxy design with those. Of course, full-size spare here on the back as well. And it's the rest of the rear. Now take a look at the door panel. You've got this nice soft touch trim here at the top, and I like how you can see the exterior paint through there. Got the exposed rivets too, so it's got this very utilitarian, rugged design. And then nice seats with this perforated all down the center. And then quickly pop in. Legroom, it's good. Got a little storage net here. Got our own climate zone in the back. Got some USB ports as well. We have the Alpine windows up top, which really help out with making the interior just feel a lot more open, a lot lighter too. And then of course, tons of headroom with the boxy design. Now taking a look at the front door panel, you can see the soft touch here, and then down below, and then again the exposed rivets. All of our window controls here. You got your mirror adjustments, memory seat function, blind spot monitoring with the mirrors, and then here are the front seats. You can see perforated all down the center. So I'm going to mention getting into the seats is really easy because this doesn't sit up all that high, and then the air suspension being sat at a lower position, it's just easy to get into the car in general. And then you've got this cool soft touch trim all across the dash. And even this section of the dash right there is soft touch too. So taking a look at the steering wheel, you've got soft touch trim all around. Really cool design here with the spokes. And then you've got practical controls like your adaptive cruise control, your heated steering wheel controls there for the center. And then just traditional stocks here on the back. Now this is the digital gauge cluster with the Defender. It's very customizable. I've got it with the 2-dial layout. You can go to 1 dial if you want. And you guys can see the average MPG right there. And you can get over 400 miles on a tank, so pretty dang practical with this inline 6. Now I love the 360 camera. A lot of other automakers are now copying Land Rover, but basically it fills in underneath the vehicle. But yeah, you've got a really good 360, and you have your on-road and off-road use for it. And then this has the smaller screen. You can get a bigger unit if you want. But yeah, it's easy to use. It's got a pretty quick response time. And one of my favorite things is it shows you the elevation there. So you can see we're at over 4,600 feet above sea level right now. So I don't know. I think that's pretty fun. Got our shifter here for the 8-speed, and then we've got a bunch of physical buttons here. So this is the multifunction climate control. This only has heated seats, but you can also do the fan speed, and the drive mode select is in that setup as well. To raise and lower the air suspension, stuff like your hill descent control, your low range, just a little button right there. And then we've got some USB ports down below. I like this trim. I think it's the Resist trim is what this is called. It's really cool here on the sides. And just the open center console concept. You can see the console itself, wireless phone charging pad, and then this is cool. It opens up all the way like that, and all the trim inside feels very premium. This is a camera rear view mirror, and then we've got a panoramic sunroof. And as equipped, this one stickers for about $82,000 with all the options, the county pack, and all that. Let's drive it. Quickly talk about visibility before we set off. Over the hood, both the mirrors. Throughout the rest of the rear. It's really good with the Defender. And set off. Setting off in the Land Rover Defender. This inline 6 version is kind of like the bread and butter for Land Rover, right? Because it's not the base powertrain in the Defender, but it's also not the crazy V8 that is, you know, pretty up there in price. It's a lot more affordable than, you know, some of the competition when you compare it to like Mercedes G-Wagon, for example. But still, it's a lot more than, you know, what a lot of people are looking at. And so I think, you know, I've said this in the past, I think this is kind of like the sweet spot for the Defender in terms of powertrains. It's a really good powertrain. Now the Defender overall, you know, this came out for the 2020 model year, and it still holds up really well. It's unibody construction, independent front rear suspension, air suspension. It drives really well, it's comfortable, it handles great. Like the on-road manners for a big boxy off-road SUV are fantastic. And I owned one of these, I took it off-road. They're great off-road. Like the stuff that this can do as a unibody vehicle is insane. Just go look at the videos, it's crazy. It's a really capable vehicle when it comes to off-roading. And so, even though the Defender, right, is in its 5th model year, what, 2021, 2, 3, 4, oh, so I guess 6th model year. Can't do math. I know, I think it's really cool, and I think that it's such a good job on the outset that they don't really need to change all that much. Just kind of my 2 cents on that. Now, with that being said, the world has changed quite significantly since the Defender originally came out, and there's a lot more competition on the market, and I do want to focus on that in today's video because I have my personal take on what I think Land Rover should do considering all of the competition that currently exists now. So let's talk about the competition. When the Defender first came out, if you wanted a boxy off-road SUV, you had 3 choices. G-Wagon, extremely expensive. Defender, right, luxury and reasonably priced. And then Wrangler, not luxury at all, reasonably priced, but again, not luxury at all. And so it's like, if you want a luxury boxy off-road SUV, the Defender made the most sense, unless you wanted to just throw a ton of money at a G-Wagon. G-Wagons are cool, don't get me wrong, I love them, but this is a better luxury vehicle, and again, it's a lot more affordable. But fast forward to today, and you know, Ford's released their Bronco, independent front suspension. It's still more like a Wrangler where it's not quite luxury, but it's a cool boxy off-road SUV that's more daily drivable than a Wrangler. Ineos with the Grenadier, right, literally looks like an old school Defender, and so people that just want the Defender looks and they want, like, you know, old school off-roading, that's kind of like me. I bought an Ineos Grenadier. Well, you've got that now that's competition with the Defender. And then you've got the new Lexus GX 550 and the new Toyota Land Cruiser. Those are both body-on-frame independent suspension, and I would call those luxury cars. They've got luxury car features, and they've got good road manners, similar to the Defender. Even though they're body-on-frame with solid rear axle, they drive really well on road. And again, they've got their feature-packed. And the big thing about the Toyota siblings is they're less money than the Defender for similar options. A Land Cruiser that's similarly spec'd out to this actually has more options than this, is less than 70 grand. A Lexus GX with similar options to this is about 70, and then if you do one that's this price, the GX 550 Overtrail that has the off-road stuff and the luxury stuff, it's about the same price and has more features. And so that's kind of where I want to lead into is, I think the Defender is great. It's unique in the segment in the fact that air suspension, unibody, independent suspension, it's got a lot of cool stuff going for it, but it's also got a lot of competition now. And so what's the change that Land Rover could make? My personal take is that they don't actually have to themselves lower pricing. I think that what Land Rover should do is open up their dealer network. And here's what I mean. Right now, if you want to buy a new Land Rover, you have to buy a new Land Rover from a dealership that is closest to you. You have to be in their sales region. And so what this means is that Land Rover dealers are not incentivized to discount their vehicles because they have no competition, right? You look at any other dealership that has an open network, and if they aren't the lowest price in town, then someone's just going to drive to the next dealership with that brand and buy from them. And so it creates this inter-dealership, you know, competition. Now, a manufacturer like Land Rover doesn't do that because they don't want people to have that experience. They want people to have like more of a Tesla-like experience where they just go into one store, they buy from that store, they service for that store, right? They're going for the customer experience side of things. I think that's fantastic. And I'm all for it, but I'm also all for dealers being more competitive. And so my personal thought is, if they open up this dealer network so the Land Rover dealers were having to actually compete with each other when it comes to pricing, I think that'll naturally, you know, lead to some dealer discounts, but also that might lead to a mentality where the dealers don't want to lose customers to other brands, right? Because what you're having happen now is, and I've talked to a lot of people that have done this, where they were thinking about buying a Defender, but then the new Lexus GX 550 and the new Land Cruiser got released, and now they're buying one of those. And so I think it would put the dealers in the right mindset to where if someone goes in and says, I'm comparing to the Lexus GX 550 that's 10 grand less than your product and offers similar features, then the Land Rover dealer would be like, yes, yeah, the MSRP price is, but here's the deal. We'll do a special discount for you. And I don't know how much markups in these Defenders. You know, most vehicles have 10% for the dealers. So $80,000, we can assume maybe there's $8,000 of markup in it. Then they would be, you know, the dealer could say, hey, you know what, we're not going to make money up front on this transaction, but this person will service this vehicle with us. So, you know, what dealers have been doing since the beginning of time. I think you guys get where I'm going with this. I think that it would then I don't know, I think that it would help Land Rover sell even more cars, and it wouldn't impact Land Rover's bottom line at all, because they would still be selling the cars to the dealers for the same amount of money, and then they would be able to capture these customers. Because if I had the choice between a Defender and the new GX 550 or the new Land Cruiser, and the Defender was discounted, let's again, just $8,000, 10% discount, I would buy the Defender over those vehicles. But once you take into account the extra MSRP pricing, it makes it a little bit harder to justify. That's just my 2 cents on that. I still think this is a great vehicle, but I think that moving forward with the availability of new product on the market, I think Land Rover is going to have a tougher time selling these. And so I think the best thing to do in the short term is just open up so that there can be discount. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you agree or disagree. That's all.